So you want to survive in Last Epoch and get through the game. There's a few things you need to know and you must do or you will die. Now, first, the game is defense based orientated. So defense over attack. So if you look at the gear, your weapon, obviously you want to have the attack. That's pretty much the only item that you choose attack over defense. But in armors, we're looking at health, we're looking at armor, we're looking at resistances. As you can see, depending on your build, depends on what actual stuff you get. Now, the idols, it's a very, very, very awesome system in the game to help you get those extra resistances or crit avoidance and stuff like that. As you can see, full res, and in some builds you want to try to maximize your res. The resistances in this game mean that you stay alive. In other games it's a nice thing to get max, but then your gear helps you stay alive more than anything else. In this, you need your resistances up or your gear cannot carry you. The most important stuff you should get is physical resistance and the elemental. Usually these three you can pick up enough idols to carry you over whichever you need. Obviously once you get to a point, it's good to have all maxed out and then you can focus on other things. The next thing is armor or ward. Ward being like energy shield in other games. This little blue bit is what I have always. It then builds up as I kill things because of my build. I'm not armor based, but I still got 51% damage reduction and 35% non-physical mitigation from my armor, which is a huge thing. So, early game, armor, resistances. You won't have much ward or dodge if your build goes that way because of how the gear works. It's only later you get that stuff through your stat points through the gear. So you're looking at resistances and armor, as you can see with the armor. The armor, 151 armor for the helmet, 191 for the chest piece. You can get armor belts if you didn't know, and then you're going to have a base level armor as you go. So always upgrade the gear and use these shop people early on especially, and you can buy all these runes which are important, but you can upgrade your gear quite easily as you go for gear that you haven't picked up. Don't be afraid to buy a cheap pair of boots, armor, whatever, because they are cheap. You won't have a problem getting the money back for them. So the armor and resistances will be your main defense early on, all the way to probably the early monoliths, which is the end game. The next thing is know what your damages are. As you can see here with the scaling tags underneath, that is what increases the damage or defense. And you want to try and make sure that most of your stuff has at least the base stuff the same. These not so important until the end game, but there's a few things you need to build up based on your passive tree. So as you can see here, we have 20 in the base acolyte, which is the minimum required to be able to go into this next slot. But then we have 60 in our warlock, which is our mastery, and only 1 and 2 in the other two. You don't want to spend all your points evenly across these. If you spend points in something like this, you want it to mean something. Like this, it's health, and over here we have the minion health for our big guy. So we went into it to increase our stats. And the stats you want on, you can easily see, because it tells you, for each point of intelligence, dexterity, whatever, you get what it says. So if you are not requiring much mana, then you shouldn't have much attunement, because a lot of the builds that require mana, you can get mana back through other sources, so it's not that big a deal. And these skills, as you can see, we have those skills up here. I'm not running this, I am not running this, but within the other skills, it has the use for them. As you can see here and here. And then you'll see throughout different skills, it requires different things and aids different ways. So even though we don't run the skills, we're mastering the skills because overall it helps us. Now, another thing, just in case you didn't know, the quest lines and all that, 15, 15, 8, 8. By the 7th, 8th chapter, there's 9 before the 1.1. There should be 3 more if they've finished it, but there's no word yet. By chapter 7, 8, you should have either 1 quest to go or all done with these. These are very, very, very important for you not dying, because your skills and points as you go through here, you need to get a lot in to be able to survive. It's just the way the game's based, but there's a little ramp at the first bit, then you go just stale almost, not really increasing, and then once you get to a certain point, depending on your build, it ramps right back up, and then you get all your damage. So it is very important to get your passive points and your idle slots, because as I said before, these can come in really, 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 really big help when you actually need to catch up on resistances or crit avoidance or anything like that. And don't be worried about going to town at any point. So you're going through the quest line, go back to town, sell things, recap, change things out. You don't have to struggle all the way. So the end of time is always going to be available for you. And crafting, you don't need to actually go to this physical thing. You can just push F and upgrade your gear. Crafting will keep you alive. You can craft anywhere you want, anytime. And if you're struggling in a resistance or anything, obviously you need to be able to craft it with the crafting materials, but you pick up enough as you go. Do craft it. So what do we got? Cold res. Oh, I need a little bit more cold res. Boom. Or I need more damage, which don't do this over that. Choose the resistance first. And then, and you can see here, we maxed out all that. And we didn't max out the actual other bit. So maxing out the resistances is more important than maxing out the damage, because the damage will come through the pass tree, through the stats. And as you can see, the stash is not something you should really focus on, and you shouldn't hoard anything. So sell everything and just keep picking stuff up, because you will quickly outrun your gear. And then if we go and we have a look at this, the Ruined Era is very much void, so you want void damage, but you also want the elemental. Imperial, down here we got a bunch of poison, but we also need the elemental. As I said before, elemental is important. You want to always try to max them out, and then try to max out the others as required. Here, Necro, but also a lot of them have lightning and fire, so you want elemental. Seeing a theme. So, as I said, keep these and the physical. These are what you max out first. These you want to try to get max as you go, but you will be able to survive more on these two, having lower. Poison you want to try to max when you're in a poison zone. That's pretty much it. Outside of poison zone, you don't really need it. These you need pretty much all the time from get-go. So from level 1 to level 100, you need to focus on those. So, recap. Resistances keep you alive. Armor is important from the campaign, start of the campaign to end the campaign. Then by then you'll rotate into either armor stacking build, ward, or you'll be a dodge warrior. You want to focus on defense over attack, pretty much from get-go, all the way up to endgame. Even throughout the endgame, you want to focus on defense over attack. You'll see a point where your defense is fine and you're surviving, and then you can add to the damage. But if you die, you have a weakness somewhere. Unless you've just made a really silly mistake, or you are trying to speed through the campaign or the end game and you're so far below the actual level, you're not dying because of anything pretty much except for resistances, armor, or later on ward or dodge. That is why you die. So not if you keep dying, if you die, it is because of resistances or additional defenses, more than likely. There's a few other reasons, but 99% of the time it'll be the combination of these two. And pretty much lastly, streamline your attacks. Use attacks that focus on the one sort of set of skills and then maximize that. So if we have a look again, I'm maximizing 2 skills I'm not using because we have them elsewhere. So streamline all your attacks to do maximum damage, so you only need to use a couple of skills. You're not going, well, I like this, I need points in this, I got points in that, and you don't have the stuff. Your gear won't even help you if you start doing that. If you start going, oh, get a weapon that does cold damage, a boots that do fire, helmet that does cold, and then you start going on and on and on, you're going to do average damage, not great damage. So streamline your attack and it will help. and also free up spots for defense, which will keep you alive. So, do check out Last Epoch before the actual 1.1 launch, and check out the defenses and how to stay alive and all that, so you're ready to go for when the cycle comes around. But catch you next time. Hit all those buttons, and please donate to the channel if you feel like it, with the super thanks underneath. Goodbye, and have fun.